let us begin another lucky week in the arena. It's me, Arjuna, one of your hosts for the Arena Craft podcast, where we mostly talk about Magic Arena, but occasionally veer wildly off topic as we're going to do today.
No, we're not. Don't say that in the intro. They'll just bounce.
Well,
we gotta suck them in to because we're talking about some hot fire here. They're gonna want this real life action.
Oh man. Well, I was gonna introduce him, but there he is, just the bug on the windshield, the CGB, joining us all the way from Las Vegas, aka home after Las Vegas. I'm still alive, buddy. How about you?
I am alive and nowhere near Las Vegas anymore, but I'm less than 24 hours removed from Sin City. So the exhaustion is real. The voice is hurting. The mind is fuzzy, and I'm still not exactly sure where my pants are, but it was fun.
The one pair that you brought to Vegas may have gone missing. Good to know. Yeah. Crafties, don't want to give you FOMO or anything, but for all of your content creators returning from Vegas, we all feel like probably 1,000 years older. It's a lot of fun to cram into one weekend. Magic is also a mentally taxing game. Travel is difficult, and Vegas is very overstimulating, and all of that combines to make a very tired and sometimes grumpy content creator afterwards. So I'm sure that CGB and I are both feeling that a little bit in our own ways. I have had a little bit of time to have my voice recover. CGB stayed a day longer than I did. We're going to spend most of the episode just sharing anecdotes from our time in Vegas. We'll probably just cover, briefly a few other topics that happened while we were gone. Why don't we address that first, CGB?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, it's like rewind a couple of days. We're hanging out in Vegas, seeing a bunch of IRL people, playing a bunch of IRL Magic, which was very refreshing, by the way. And all of a sudden, we start to feel like disturbances in the force. And it sounds like Arena does one of its absolutely classic, completely game-ending crap outs. So, CGB, do you want to kind of cover for the people, maybe anyone who didn't experience it over the weekend, what happened exactly?
I'll do my best. I didn't play at all for about 5 days. It's probably the longest since Arena was released that I've gone without playing it. So I was completely unplugged. And when I found out that basically the client was down, like you couldn't join matches for a period of time over the weekend, which is pretty surprising. And I remember there was a lot of talk about they rolled out an update, but it broke everything. So they tried to send out a fix to the update, and that no workied. So they had to roll back the last update and update you back to what it was before the Thursday update. And then they were trying to fix something else. I know that Jacob Hawken was bugged. I don't know exactly what it was. It never really happened to me, but there were bugs in various spots. Elusive, the wizard, the 2/4 that lets you exile 2 cards, is still bugged. They tried to unbug it, and then the rollback rebugged it. But there's something you can do with that card. It was a mess. A lot of people couldn't play during the weekend, which is supposed to be a really popular time. It hasn't been very long since Crimson Vow's release. There's a lot of in-store events with arena codes in the little packs, that people are trying to redeem. And there were tournaments that were canceled, including Red Bull Untapped and Stream League number 5, I think it is.
Oh man. Ooh. Which by the way, if any of y'all follow the one James Rutherford, organizer of Stream League, he had a pretty brutal Sunday. It was something roughly like waking up at, I want to say 4:45 or something like that to go to a friend's hotel room to try to get set up for Stream League. Had a monitor broken en route, which is very reminiscent of the one in Best of One. I don't know, man. What is this curse? Well, there's some curse going around, right?
Monitors they don't make them like they used to. Not back in my day. Not, man. Back in my day, I would hit it with a sledgehammer and keep on monitoring,
Yeah. But the monitor was the sledgehammer that you would hit things with, right?
Yeah. He went through all that and
Yeah.
then had to cancel anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He braved everything and Arena still crapped out on him. So
brutal.
yeah, feel that's a big feels bad. He was also wasting valuable time at MTG Vegas to go through all those troubles as well. So yeah, rip to him. Anyway, go check him out. I'm sure he'll tell you the full story in gory detail. But yeah, man. So overall, major bummer. And you were saying, CGB, that our illustrious Fire Shoes on Twitter, follow Fire Shoes, by the way. If you're not following Fire Shoes, I don't know what you're doing. Had something to say about this. Do you want to share what that was with us?
There were a few tweets that picked up steam that day, basically not necessarily targeting the downtime, the specific downtime for Arena, but being like, ugh, Arena could be so much better. Why isn't Arena better? And yeah, Robert Taylor at Fire Shoes on Twitter put out this tweet that got 1,611 likes and 160 retweets. And it says that
Nice.
Magic Arena obviously needs more support. Every set release is a dumpster fire of bugs, disconnects, and downtime. True. Client enhancements never happen. Feels like it's been forever. The
Yeah.
deck builder sucks.
It's actually worse than it used to be right now.
Yeah. Ever since they did the sideboard lesson thing. Nope. All right, back to
God.
Fire Shoes. The latter is a hot mess of rank exploits.
Yep.
The economy sucks, so it's just people jamming the same monocolor into the next tweet deck they had because no wild cards, and they don't want to dump $400 every set into a money pit. We didn't even get compensated when they nerfed cards in Historic. Are you kidding me? When the content creators are actively avoiding your game on release day, you should realize that you need to make changes. This game could be so much better than it is. It's sad and frustrating. And this, yeah, I mean, it popped off. Is there any part of this that we can even try to disagree with? I don't see it.
I mean, he basically condensed into one series of tweets, like pretty much all the complaints we've ever voiced about the platform on our podcast over the last year, basically.
Yeah, and it's tough to see it laid out and have pretty much. It's almost impossible to defend.
Yeah.
I mentioned it last week, I think. Now it's not clear because we kind of missed. I guess we've sort of missed an episode here, and we're recording the day before Thanksgiving. So, but anyway, the last time we talked about the release days and all the things that are consistently just going wrong with those, and how when there was downtime on the last release, I spent the time like watching Chris Cox, CEO of Wizards of the Coast, talk about how MTG Arena is the #1 digital platform for a CCG in the world. And it continues to show that Magic is this amazing game that can carry almost anything. Insanely priced cards, insanely awkward clients that get neglected. But I think that a lot of the frustration is how great I think people can see Arena could be. Anybody who's spent time on other games can see how it could be. And then you go on something like Glassdoor and you see that they pay their developers, their software developers, like 60% below market rate.
Yikes.
Yeah. That's,
Wow.
Why would anybody?
Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
just
hurts.
It's hard. It's hard to see an organization with so many resources and such a popular game. Like, I don't know. It's almost, I just like don't even know what to say, right? I'm just like, resources meet demand. Click, plug them in. Let's go, right? Like, what's the problem? I don't get it. I mean, I literally don't get it. It seems like, and okay, like, sure, it costs money to pay people more. It costs money to hire a few more people, right? But when we're talking about like revenues in the billions, and when we're talking about a cash cow, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I find it interesting, all the things that they talk about doing or try to do. And what if they just focused on making the best client they could? Like, you know, like the return on that could be amazing. Like, they have so many different parts of their business to care about. They put so much money into the esports push. I feel like whoever is handling Arena feels like it's esports or nothing. You don't have to have these huge, prestigious, expensive tournaments all the time that to make some kind of an esports push. And you don't. I want there to be a competitive play system, but it doesn't have to be like this ultra mega overproduced thing that the last few years was. We don't need an MPL. We've proven that. That's eventually going away. They spent a lot of time and money on that. And we don't, in my opinion, we don't need to have high Twitch viewership. They seem to care so much about Twitch viewership and focus on those numbers all the time. I don't need any of those things. Just make a really sweet client and let those things take care of themselves. It feels like it's right there in front of us, and we've seen that other games can make such a better product, a better economy, and just a better interaction. You know what clip got shared the most from my release day stream? It's one of me, like, I play Soren, and there's a voice line, but literally no animation, nothing. And I just go, well, there's the greatest animation of a new Mythic Planeswalker I've ever seen. Just nothing.
Yeah. Oh, man. And you know, the irony of that is that if we had no new animations, but the client was better, I'd be like, okay with that. You know what I mean? It's like, if we had anything else to show for that lack, I'd be okay with that. But yeah, I mean, and you know, let's not drag on the devs here. Like, I have a feeling that there's a house full of developers who want to make an amazing game who just frankly don't have the resources to do so. So yeah, it's sad, man. It really is. It's sad. It's true. Here we are.
Did you hear about any of the codes? Apparently there were some codes for people who had issues.
Yeah, I did actually nab. I nabbed one of those. Yeah, let me see if I can find this. The one
I just thought of it because the listeners might want it, but I haven't entered it yet, so I don't know what the codes are. But apparently some codes came out.
Okay, so there is one. It's courier bat, like, you know, a courier, someone who carries media, etc. Courier bat, all one word. So yeah, that'll give you like 2k gold, some XP, some ICRs and stuff like that. So yeah, type that in, get a little consolation prize, crafties.
Sweet. And we wanted to talk about this even though we were mostly unaffected, just because we know most of you were at home probably feeling FOMO even harder if you were paying attention to Twitter and you couldn't play Arena, which
you couldn't play. What a beat.
It's a double whammy, and it didn't happen to me, but I feel for you guys quite a bit.
Yep. So the moral of the story is go support Robert Taylor, Fire Shoes on Twitter. Like somehow one man doing more for the Magic community, it seems sometimes, than all of Wizards of the Coast. Just go support him. He's a great guy. He basically spreads nothing but truth and love in the community. Huge fan of his work.
Right on.
Yep. Okay. So the main event, what you've all been waiting to hear about, MTG Vegas. So both CovertGoBlue and I flew in on Thursday of last week. The event started Friday morning and concluded around 5 or 6 p.m. on Sunday. Actually, it probably went later than that, right? When did the top 8 start on Sunday?
I really don't know. It was pretty late. I think
we were leaving the building.
Yeah, it was after 7, I think.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was kind of one of those typical things that you'd sometimes see in the old coverage, where you'd be like in an empty convention center with the finalists just looking totally haggard, right? I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to have spent all 3 of those days just like playing the sweatiest Magic of my life.
I got a taste of it. I guess I'll launch the first story since we're kind of dancing around it. So Roman Fusco made top 8 of the sealed main event, which is what was going on Sunday night. And he and I hadn't met before, but I knew who he was because he sometimes does a podcast with Michael Flores, who was on our show.
Oh,
Michael
nice.
J. And it's about, what was it? Like, it was like 3 or 4 in the afternoon. It's on a Sunday. and I get a text from Michael saying to go find Roman right now. Like he needs to see me right now or something. I'm like, okay. I had to like look up a picture of him to know who I'm looking for. And I went and found it, or he kind of found me. Like he was over in I told him where he messaged me. I told him where I was, and he came over. And he says he's 10-2, so he's got a few rounds to go. He needs to win the next one, and then he might be able to draw in, something like that. And he's like on fumes. Like I'm looking into his eyes, and they're like, it's like drooping. He's like coming down really hard. He's crashing, and I'm like, oh. Okay, I see what's going on. We need sustenance for this man right now. So we went to the Amex Lounge to try to, we went out into the hallway of the convention center, and there was like an Amex Lounge that I have a card that could get people into. There was also like a food court and all this stuff, but everything's closed. Everything's closed. And then I remember, because I've been basically grabbing people like friends and taking them into the Amex Lounge to ask for their bags of snacks, that I have leftover bags of snacks. And these are like big bags of snacks. And they've got good stuff in there. There's banana chips, there's like little cookies, there's chocolate wafers, there's pretzels. Like it's a nice size bag. And I've got these in my gaming bag from yesterday. So I bust him out. I'm like, here, eat this stuff, fuel up. And then I give him like a little pep talk and like get him back in the ring. And he made top 8. He sent me a message and said he would have made it, but he was able to make top 8 of the event. So that was a really cool story. Yeah. So congrats to Roman.
Yeah. So you were the Samwise Gamgee to Roman's ascension into the top 8 there.
Yeah, strictly because Michael J couldn't be bothered to come out, but he just tagged me in over Twitter. So it was pretty funny how that all worked.
There you go. That's awesome. So congratulations to him. We definitely had a number of friends who are playing in the competitive events over the weekend.
Nerd Girl drew into top 32. So I believe that means she cashed the event, the main sealed event, which is a pretty big accomplishment. Really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could tell all of your friends who are in the main event because you didn't see them very much.
Yeah, that was a telling thing.
Yeah, exactly. There were, a lot of like famous people and MTG pros playing in that event who I didn't even see a whisker of all weekend. People like Reed Duke, who you'd hear their voice announced over the loudspeaker, and that would be about it, right?
I believe he won the modern event. Somebody told me that. I haven't seen it online to confirm. Somebody told me he won the entire the modern main event.
It wouldn't surprise me. He's basically like a shark in the kiddie pool. Yeah. There's some powerful players there, but it's Reed frickin' Duke, right?
Yeah.
So basically, this is kind of how it happened, right? So you show up in Vegas, you get a hotel. In my case, it was kind of a crummy hotel. I got like a package deal and whatever, so I wasn't expecting a lot, but it was a pretty crummy hotel, I gotta say. And then on the morning of the event, you roll up in a cab, and if you were lucky, you know where to go. But if you weren't lucky like me, then your cab driver, you say, "Oh, I'm going to the Vegas Convention Center," and your cab driver says, "Where?" And I got this question. I was like a deer in the headlights. I was like, I would like to go to the convention center, please. And the cab driver's, he's got this look like, okay, this guy's new here. He doesn't really know what's going on. So apparently the Vegas Convention Center is just like multiple buildings spread out over literally like a mile of Vegas. So we go to this big building, which is just totally shut down. And then, he drives me over to this other building where there are people milling about outside. And I actually thought that the MTG Vegas wasn't even in that building because I saw some banner for something else that was happening that weekend.
Yep. A design expo.
Yeah, it's a design expo.
Design thing. Yep.
Yeah. Channel Fireball / Wizards just didn't see fit to put like a single banner of any kind outside the building whatsoever. So it was, I literally had to call up the convention center and like talk to someone on the phone and ask where this event was. So CGB, was smart and like found some Twitter thread which
I,
told
I
them where to go.
I knew the right people
Yeah,
on Twitter who saved exactly where to go. Yeah, so
yeah,
that
yeah,
that was a pretty easy fix. I also had some people inside the event that I was texting with who were trying to figure out the right verbiage for my Uber driver, but it went well. Everything was fine.
yeah,
You know what's great about
yeah.
Uber?
Mm.
They don't get to raise the price.
No,
So your
no,
your
they
your
don't.
taxi's meter might have been running, but not my Uber's.
Which side note, I paid out a lot of tips on Uber over the weekend because I had some incredible Uber drivers, dude.
Me too.
Like incredible, man. Just like
Yeah.
great conversationalists. I chatted with this one guy who runs a YouTube channel devoted to the paranormal. He's like this Australian guy and he travels around the world to like known paranormal sites and does videos about them and stuff. And the guy was freaking rad, man. I didn't want to get out of the car. So yeah, there was a lot of cool Uber drivers in Vegas. I got to give a thumbs up for that. So anyway, so you finally get to the hall and you walk in, and the place is just absolutely massive. I mean, it's basically like two halls kind of stuck together, and the main event was in the back hall, and it was pretty much the only thing in the back hall was just tables upon tables upon tables. And that's where the modern event, the sealed event, and then some of the other side events happened back there. In the front of the hall, it looked a little bit closer to like a regular Magic convention. So there's like a bunch of vendors. There's some booths set up for some artists. Not very many of those actually. And then there was also like a couple of other extraneous booths. For example, one of the most badass booths of the weekend was put together by a number of our favorite cosplayers and streamers. I think it was a collaboration of, I want to say it was Zebex, Zabricus, Air Bubbles, and Talia Vess. I think they were the four main people at the booth. Am I missing anyone?
I think you got it right.
Okay.
Lady
Yeah.
Lavinius was cosplaying, but I don't think she was part of that booth.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Lady Lavinius was hanging out with them. I also met Azane, cool Mexican cosplayer who hung out as well. I'm sure there were some other cosplayers who I didn't meet who are very rad as well. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of folks hung out at that booth and it was a good time. So wanted to give them a shout out for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. They're really, really cool folks, and it's cool to see them working together to kind of create like one place to go to. Because usually the cosplayers are just like moving around the venue and don't really have an anchor or spot to go to relax or to really sell their stuff. So
Yeah, exactly. And then, there were some lines right by the door, which is where you could go and register for side events, I spent a lot of time in those lines over the weekend because I spent basically the whole weekend doing Arjuna's equivalent of Magic Crack Cocaine, which is Mystery Booster. It's my favorite format. For any of you who don't know about it, I haven't played it. It's a card pool of, I want to say it's almost 1,400 cards. And it's just this like uber limited format. And they somehow managed to put cool themes in there. And, greedy people like me can put together these wild decks that feel kind of like cube decks and have a really good time. So I spent a majority of my weekend playing that format, which also means that I didn't spend a majority of my weekend playing Magic with wonderful people like CGB. I had planned to do so,
we didn't play
but
each other at all. Yeah,
we didn't play each other
all.
once. I think no, it's not because I don't love you, man. It's but I do love Mystery Booster, and I don't particularly love Commander. So
Oh, I
my
do.
goal was and that's the thing. So my goal was to just kind of get in some other games with people kind of in between what for me was the main event of Mystery Booster. And the good news for me is that I managed to spend most of the weekend doing that. The bad news is that I had very few other games with other friends and content creators, but I still got a lot of opportunity to hang out with them, which is cool. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what did you roughly spend the weekend doing at the convention, CGB?
Oh, I'd love to talk about that. I'm going to start with something that might be on the mind of a lot of people out there. First of all, I was really surprised by how seriously Las Vegas appeared to be taking precautions. I I wasn't sure what to expect, but in my mind, Vegas was kind of a scary place where I figured like there wouldn't be a lot of requirements, or if they were, they wouldn't be well followed with regards to masks or vaccines. And every casino that you walked into, what I also expected is that there might be like, you know, a lovely young cocktail waitress with a little tray of masks as a suggestion. Because that's the Vegas I knew before the pandemic. The Vegas post-pandemic, no. Every place I went into had a guy who this is probably the day job, and then in the evening goes and bounces at the nightclubs. Like big, like minimum 6 foot, 200-pound looking dudes, not offering you a mask, looking right at you like, you gonna put that on? You gonna do it? Yeah, you're gonna do it. You're gonna do it, or you're turning around. And every place had this at every entrance. Overall, I thought basically the following the regulations of wearing masks indoors was well done. It fell off later in the evening as people were drinking for sure, and they were drawing the lines between where are the bars and where's the casino. But if I just went to my room, I didn't have to think about that too much. During the daytime, it seemed like I felt really good about things. And at the convention center, you had to provide either proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test to get access. And I felt fine in the convention center throughout the event. It really, I felt more comfortable than I expected to going to my first big Magic event in several years. So I wanted to get that out there because I'm sure some people have on their mind whether or not they should be going to these things. And I felt good for a vast majority of my time. Would you say the same?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that my experience was somewhat colored by the fact that I've had 2 recent work trips, one of which was to Vegas. I was actually just in Vegas in September. And so I'd gotten the fear of COVID somewhat bludgeoned out of me on those trips, or at least gotten used to the idea of being in these crowded spaces with a lot of people, not all of whom are masked. So in comparison to that, the convention center actually felt quite tame. Social distancing was definitely possible, especially if you were someone who wanted that. I felt like you had the space to find that for the most part. So I think they did a pretty good job. And, I would be surprised if it ended up being some kind of super spreader event. I highly doubt that anything like that went down. So yeah, definitely give them good marks for that.
The question I'm probably going to get in comments that I already have received a few times is if I played in the big competitive main events. And I did not. I had an idea that it's kind of a no-win situation. If you enter and lose, then it feels bad. And then you have to tell people you lost all weekend. And if you enter and win, you don't get to spend time with a lot of people as we saw both going on with others. And as you kind of experienced as you were crushing it in Mystery Booster. So I was there strictly for people. Like I haven't done any Magic event since my career in content creation became my full-time priority. And I really wanted to be able to meet fans, play games with fans, meet other content creators who I've only known online, play games with them. And mission accomplished, for sure. I met so many fans. It's incredible. I brought a lot of tokens. Like I had over 100 of the various tokens. And I was like, there's no way I'm actually going to get rid of these. But by the end, they were almost all gone. There's only a couple like stragglers left over. I met so many people. And everybody was really nice. It blew my mind. I would be like, so what brings you here? And they're like, oh, we came to meet you. And I'm like, are you going to play in any of the events or anything? They're like, we don't own any cards.
Wow.
Like they only play Arena, and they jumped in a car for like 12 hours to come meet me. And I'm like, okay, well, I hope the next 10 minutes are really great for you. Because I feel like I have a lot to live up to. Oh my God. But it was really sweet how many people came out and wanted to meet me, and we signed cards and we got to talk. And yeah, I can't possibly thank everybody, but Blanket shout out to all the fans who approached me, and I made sure everybody got a token and a picture if they wanted it, and it was a good time. Like it was very heartwarming, and it really moved me.
Yeah, it was really cool. I also got to meet a lot of content creators. I'm not nearly as recognizable as you are, but I did actually have like some kind of fangirly interactions, which was nice, right? Because I feel like if I'd gone and I'd had none of that happen, I would have wondered what I was doing with my MTG content creation life. So yeah, that was for all the people who randomly approached me and said hi. You're wonderful, and thanks for doing that. It was a real payoff for me.
Yep. I really enjoyed basically pulled up a table like in the back corner of the hall and had people come play Magic, and both content creators and like fans played some Commander, and it was really fun. I played a lot of Blue White Yori and Commander.
I heard you did a lot of winning with Blue White Yorion.
I don't think I lost when I played my Blue White. I think I only lost when I played my Mono Black Sidisi pile. But my Blue White deck still isn't like mega powerful. I have actually cut most of the ramp cards from it, like the broken ramp cards like Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Ancient Tomb. Like I don't have any of those in the deck, and I could no Mox Diamond. And it definitely doesn't actually win till well after turn 10, because the like combo finish that you try to put together is Omniscience, Approach of the Second Sun, and Dig Through Time.
Ah, very nice.
So that's how it can actually end a game. But yeah, playing with a lot of people, it actually did really well, and a lot of people gave it their best shot. But Blue White control, man, me and some Yori, and we get the job done.
Hard to mess with success. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's interesting. I brought 2 Commander decks, didn't bust them out the entire weekend. I did bring a Pioneer deck, which I ended up playing in an event. And I actually went, 2 wins and a draw.
Off to a rocky start, though, and you have to tell that story.
Oh, God, do I have to tell that story?
Yes, you do. All right. Absolutely.
You know what, Crafties? This was probably the single shoddiest match of Magic I've ever played in my entire career. I mean, I was not representing the Crafty Nation well in this match. For starters, I literally hadn't played the format of Pioneer like since before the pandemic, right? I had this deck that I had put together basically right when the format was announced. It was a blue-white vehicles kind of a tempo deck. Built around such cards as Brazen Borrower, Archangel Avacyn, had some of the Gideon ally of Zendikar in there, Heart of Kiran. It somewhat resembled a standard deck from the time, but, with a few upgrades from across Pioneer, a few more modern cards in there. Unfortunately, Smuggler's Copter got banned from the deck about a week after I built it, so I had to take those out. And either unbeknownst to me, or I'd just kind of forgotten about it, or I'd just kind of forgotten that it was in my deck, because I literally just picked this deck up, put it in my bag, took it to Vegas, and didn't think much about it. So anyway, I'm in game 1 of this Pioneer event, and I go to resolve a Teferi Time Raveler, and my opponent looks up at me, and they're like, "Oh, dude, that card's not in the format. That card's banned." And I was like, "Oh my God, really?" Like I was that out of it. Like I just didn't think about it. You know what I mean? I just like went to resolve it, and there it was. So anyway, so basically what the judge said, we called over a judge, and the judge was like, "Okay, we're going to rewind the game state. We're going to replace all of your Teferis with basic lands, and you're going to play the rest of the event like that," which,
nice.
All things considered was a fairly lenient call. I think if we'd been in any kind of like competitive whatever, that probably would have just been an immediate disqualification from the event, right?
Oh yeah, back in my day, you'd be DQ'd for something like that.
Yeah, just like would not play another match of Magic with that deck for the rest of the weekend. So all in all, it was a fairly lenient call by the judge. I ended up drawing that match, which was kind of like maybe the justice. But So yeah, that was a pretty embarrassing start, but I did win my next two matches with it, which felt pretty good. So yeah, I ended up getting some reasonable prize support for that. So yeah, I had a lot of fun playing Pioneer, and it was one of the biggest revelations from the weekend is that Pioneer is a fun format. It's kind of like modern light. I feel like it's accessible enough that people can just kind of grab whatever cards they have and put a deck together. It's but at the same time, like a lot of the most competitive decks in the format are a little bit cost prohibitive, and so I think as a result, what you get and what I experienced is just like this diverse meta game of decks based on cards that people just like or stuff people had lying around, and it actually just feels like really fun and interesting and kind of F&M-y. So that's definitely a format that I want to invest a little bit more in, both of my time, effort, but also my money, because it's fairly affordable. You don't need to buy fetch lands. They're not legal in the format. I think there are very few like truly big money cards in the Pioneer format. So a lot of the staples cost you like maybe $10, right? It's like a lot of cards that are going to set you back $10. Probably a few kind of chase mythics that are like $20 or $30, right? But there's just really, other than that, it's not like modern where you sink a couple $1,000s just into your mana base, right? So yeah, that was really fun. I definitely want to play more of that format.
What do you think is closer to historic, modern or Pioneer?
Definitely Pioneer.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, it's like as an example, one of the top decks in Pioneer right now is it Phoenix, basically. So dig through time is legal in Pioneer, which is kind of mind-blowing, but there you go. So yeah, it in a lot of ways it does feel quite similar to historic. There is a very, very different card pool for sure. And I think that people spending their own money to play the format means that the average power level of the decks is a little lower, because you can't just go out and like craft, one of the top three decks in the format and there you go. But it's got like some different broken combos in it. And oh man, I'll tell you, I'm trying to remember what's that crazy card, CGB. It's an enchantment. And basically, for the rest of the game, whenever you go to cast a spell, it like polymorphs your spell into another card off the top of your deck. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah, I wish I could describe. Anyway, that's kind of like one of the wild combo decks of the format, which is somewhat reminiscent of like these like these is it lists right now that are cheating stuff into play. So there are kind of analogs, is basically what I'm trying to say. There are decks that are somewhat analogous to what you see in historic. There are decks that are well supported in Pioneer that are almost not supported at all in historic. So like as an example, prowess burn decks are a thing that you can do in Pioneer, and they're pretty good. Whereas historics, like you can play burn in historic, but it's really not much of a thing these days. So yeah, it's an analogous power level, but substantially different format all the same.
Okay. It's funny because around the same time, I think I also had a banned card in my deck for a game, and I had a draw.
Oh
so,
no!
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. I didn't know. I had Karaoke in my
I
commander
wasn't the
deck.
only one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Karaoke is banned in
Oh,
commander.
man.
Apparently, I was surprised when I bought it that it wasn't more expensive, and now I know why.
It must have seemed pretty decent when you were looking at it, right?
Oh,
You're
man.
like, oh god, I gotta
Bounce
play
any
this
commander.
card.
Let's go. Seems good.
Oh man, way to take the edge off. I feel so much better about my embarrassment.
My draw was a commander game that lasted 4 hours.
Oh god, I heard about this.
Yeah, it came down to the end with Nessa Meow Meow, the streamer, and myself, and she went off with Marauding Raptor and Polyraptor. She was playing
sick.
Naya Dinosaurs, and she went for it. She had tried to resolve Ultra of Dementia, which would have let her make infinite Polyraptors or as many as she wanted, and then sacrifice the Marauding Raptors so it didn't draw the game as an endless loop. But I countered the Ultra of Dementia, and then she was like, well, I'm going to just do the Polyraptor thing anyway, and we got a draw. It was a 6-player game when it started. It lasted 4 hours, and she's one of my, she's a good friend. I was really happy actually because it's the first time we've been able to hang out in person in over 2 years. So
Oh, nice.
yep. So I was pretty happy to take that draw. It was one of my more fun games of the weekend.
That's
The,
awesome. Yeah, Nessa's chill AF. Definitely go and watch her stream. She plays a lot of Historic. She's she prays at the altar of the cat oven a lot. So yeah, definitely go check her out. Yeah, it seemed like you got into some pretty epic games. Do you have any other highlights from your Commander matches of the weekend?
It would usually go along the lines of everybody is trying to do broken stuff at all times. There was a Troxa player who had like 8 planeswalkers at one point, just going absolutely nuts.
Like some chain veil nonsense there.
The one James Rutherford has a tendency to try to pop off with his creature combo, like Court of Calling, Bant deck. It's kind of a little bit Enchantress, but a lot of infinite combos in it. On 2 different occasions, on 2 different games, I use Fractured Identity, which exiles a card of his choice, but gives everybody else at the table a copy. So that player loses their thing, but everybody else gets a copy of the thing. And I gave the table an Eldrazi Conscription each time.
Ooh,
so
that's fun.
Yeah, it's +10/+10 and Trample and Annihilator 2 Aura.
Wow.
It was really exciting to put like 50 power of Trample into play on a table and just leave James without anything cool. I really enjoyed that. So those kind of things were really fun. Did you have any, like, because for me, a lot of what happened was also outside the convention center, a lot of meals, a lot of events. Do you have any cool like stories about the other stuff that we got up to?
Well, yeah, I mean, so part of going to an event like this, especially if you're a content creator, is usually trying to hunt down your friends and other content creators to, go out to dinner with and kind of enjoy the local sights and scenery. And yeah, I mean, CGB and I definitely got up to some fun, both together and separately. A couple highlights. We went to a dinner on Friday with a bunch of folks that we've mentioned here. You can see the pictures on Twitter and whatever. But I got to try chicken waffles for the first time in my life because I'm gluten intolerant. And yeah, it was pretty good. I'd give it a 7 out of 10, I would say. Not a huge fan of chicken, but it was my first fried chicken. Yeah, it was pretty good. I think you had the same meal, didn't you, CGB?
I did. It was very good.
Was it good? How I've never having had it before, like how would you rate that on the scale of chicken waffles?
I haven't had fried chicken and waffles in years, so I mean, I'm gonna give it at least an 8 or 9 because I really enjoyed the meal and would do again. Here's the real question: was that the Yard House or the Yard Bird? I can't remember.
It was the Yard Bird, but
sure?
This is funny. So the night that CGB and I met up was Thursday night. We'd both gotten into Vegas that day. And we head to this restaurant called Yard House, which I had come to last time I was in Vegas, and I had fond memories of it. That was also where the infamous Cosmo was drunk by CGB.
lighting Twitter on fire, making people angry at me for drinking drinks that have color in them.
Apparently, if CovertGoBlue and the color red are spotted in the same picture together, just all hell breaks loose. I don't know what it is. I know he's pointing to his chair, which used to be blue and is now red. So yeah, that was a really cool night. Got to hang out with Emma Skyward, who is just really, really cool, badass, and sweethearted person. One of the people from the weekend who really impressed me. Yep. Definitely recommend you all go out and follow her and check out her content. She's a good Magic player, but also just like has an incredible amount of hustle and is like crushing it in her work and just seems to kind of crush it in every area of her life. So was very, very impressed meeting her for sure.
Yep. Stays up incredibly late.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah. Also that night got to meet Samsoni, which is fun. Samsoni One, another badass Magic player and streamer, notable Canadian. Had some fun hanging out with him as well. He's a very animated and friendly character. So I also on that night learned about CovertGoBlue's musical past,
Whoa,
which
whoa, whoa, whoa. You didn't say we were going to talk about this on the show.
so here's the reveal. CovertGoBlue has actually played in at least one band in the past, and is apparently quite the cover artist and guitarist. So I was very
Yeah.
impressed to learn that.
Thanks. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah,
We'll
I've
just leave it at
played
that.
I've played music before. It's fun.
Yep. Yep. So we got to geek out a little bit on that. I'm also a musician who's played in a number of cover bands before. It's always a good time. Speaking of music, I would say that one of the absolute highlights of the event for me was doing karaoke with CovertGoBlue and a whole bunch of other people. And I have to pat myself on the back. I had scouted out this karaoke place the last time I was in Vegas and recommended it to everyone. I was like, guys, this place is incredible. Got to go check it out. And it didn't disappoint. It was basically like a sea under the sea / Finding Nemo themed room at this karaoke place. And you show up to this place and there's like a metal detector and then like this kind of like weird animated cube wall, and then there's like a long hallway with a bunch of neon lights and metal and stuff, and you basically feel like you're in the middle of the Death Star when you're entering this karaoke place. And we show up and DZ and Biscuit Jesus are standing at the bar, like, doing that whole baller thing, because apparently they're both.
Whoa. We show up does not include me at this point.
That doesn't include CGB. Yeah, CGB was playing golf at the time.
I was playing Top Golf. I was about an hour and a half late, but go on.
Yep. So I show up along with Samson and James and a bunch of other people, and we meet. So we meet DZ and Biscuit Jesus at the bar. I immediately, of course, start talking with them about crypto, since they eat, poop, and breathe that topic at the moment. I also learned, they taught me about a silly drink. What's it called? It's like a pickle shot. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, and I won't.
So
maybe some viewers do, but I've got nothing for you on this one.
I feel like an idiot because I don't remember the name of this drink. I was like, I learned about this drink. Apparently, I didn't learn very much about it, but it's basically like you take a shot and then you chase it with pickle juice. And so I got to watch some folks do that at the bar. That was fun. Apparently, though, it was sacrilegious because at this place they like mix the pickle juice in with the shot, which apparently is like heinous, right? I think you're supposed to take the shot and then wash it down with the pickle juice. Anyway, but eventually we go into the room. We managed to get a room that was big enough for all of us. I think all told, we probably had about 25 people in there.
VIP, baby.
VIP.
Roll up. Let's go.
Yeah, baby. We were the biggest party there that night. So anyway, and this was maybe the most epic moment in CGB's and my friendship thus far, where like, the karaoke was rolling, people were going, and crafties, it was fine, but I'm not gonna lie, the vibe was just kind of tentative. People just like weren't really doing it right. And so I was like, all right, man, the bring-in's got to get broadened. So I get up and I start into the Pina Colada song, and I'm like giving it everything I've got. Like I was really hamming it up. And of course, with immaculate timing, CGB shows up like right at the first chorus, and he just like busts into the room, arm around my shoulder, grabs the other mic, and we basically duo our way through that song. And it was epic, baby. It was a good time.
It was an entrance.
And I'll say, man, like after that combination of like my kicking it off and you showing up and us kind of crescendoing it, like that place was really popping after that.
It was.
That really turned up the volume.
I turned up my cruise host director persona, the other persona. Yeah. It's like, make sure everybody has a drink, make sure there's food coming. Who hasn't sang? No freeloading in here. Get up there. Let's frickin' party.
Yeah. So crafties, if you ever want to go out with CGB and be one of the cool kids, you got to get prepared to actually be one of the cool kids, because CGB does not tolerate wallflowers of any kind.
Nope. You're singing, baby. You can't hide from me.
He was like walking around and pointing at people. He was like, you Have you gotten up? Freeloader, freeloader.
Yeah, people
Not
I've
on
never
my
met
watch.
before.
Yeah, some random person who's never met. Oh man, it was a good time.
It was.
You sang like what? Like at least 3 country songs with Deathsy. Is that right?
He was worried that other people there wouldn't know or particularly like country music, and I was like, I got you, man. I was
Yeah.
raised on country music. Basically, I think I know every country song before like 1999 because of the way I was raised. So
Damn.
like I can
All
I can
right.
do any of it. And he likes Zach Brown, so I do know that one. That's one that's more modern, but I know all their stuff. So yeah, anytime he wanted to go do a song, I had his back. I picked very few songs. I accompanied very many. It felt like
Yeah.
I was up there a lot.
You were always the bridesmaid, never the bride, right?
Yeah, yeah. Except for
Yeah.
Wonderwall. I got
Wonderwall, that's right.
did
Yeah, that was great
yeah.
too. CGB like walked up, he walked up to the back of the booth. He was passing the mic around. It was sweet, man.
Yeah. It was an awesome time, and we're gonna have to do it again
Indeed.
because yeah, I love karaoke. I always loved it. Anytime I can get a group for it at trade shows and stuff. This is the first one I've ever been to with content creators, and it was a blast.
It was epic, I gotta say. Yeah, definite highlight of the weekend for me. Another thing I want to shout out, CGB and I also went to a dinner on Sunday night with a smaller group of people. It was actually a very Eugene, Oregon centric group of people. I think 4 out of the 6 of us
Yeah.
happened to be based in Eugene. So we got some of kind of my town coming up on in there, which was cool. But yeah, we're hanging out with Zbex, who happens to live in Eugene, where I do. Also, her husband. They collectively own my LGS, which is really cool. That's how I met them. Also hanging out with Azane, as I mentioned, and a guy named Chris, who's just a friend. I actually didn't really know Chris before that weekend, and now I'm going to be playing some probably limited with him. So that was pretty nice. But the highlight of that evening was just there were just like these 2 random like boomer dudes who
Hold
show
on.
up to our
So
table.
what's it called? It's called Benihana. So it's a Japanese
Yeah,
like
Benihana.
steakhouse. So the
Yeah,
the seating is for 8, but we had 6, so they put 2 more at our table. Go on.
yep, yep. And there was like this huge, basically like a grill. It's like a hot plate slash grill like on the table, and the chef comes up and does that whole cooking thing right in front of you. This guy had some skills. He was like tossing stuff up and catching it in his hat and stuff. It was really fun. But yeah, these 2 guys, who know absolutely nothing about the world of Twitch or anything, proceed to get totally schooled in the art of like hot tub streams and cosplaying. I don't know what else did we teach them, CGB.
I mean, YouTube, what Magic the Gathering is. They had a vague recollection of what Magic is, but they had no idea what cosplaying was or what Twitch was or what hot tub streams were. And yeah, these 2 boomers had their mind blown that evening. TikTok,
Yeah.
they didn't know what TikTok was.
TikTok, right?
And Zbex,
right.
of course, is a TikTok machine, so they
Yeah.
got an education.
Yeah, so they got to see some hard tubbing. That was fun. And yeah, we ate some excellent Japanese food.
Yep.
So did you end up? I actually haven't heard the rest of this story. Did you stay up gambling all night, CGB, or what did you do?
Zbex and hubby wanted to do a little bit of gambling. I decided to hang out for a little while and see what happens, because my usual experience is when people want to gamble, they will gamble for a little while and then go get a drink. And this was the Westgate, so it's the hotel closest to the convention center. So I had a feeling there were some Wizards people and other convention folks still around. So I was just going to see who turned up. I was going to give it like an hour and then bounce. And after half an hour of not understanding how craps works and trying to figure that out, we ended up at the bar, and there were a whole bunch of other content creators and Wizards folk there. I got to spend another, like 3 or 4 hours with Gavin Verhey, who I've never met before. He was at the dinner at the Yardbird, and then I got to spend another 3 or 4 hours with him this evening. Guy is pretty amazing, pretty impressive dude. Really passionate, also really understanding, gets a lot of where the complaints come from. He is obviously very involved in Commander, but he's also involved in a lot of products at Wizards of the Coast. He was able to talk about all kinds of things with content creator programs, with bannings that have happened and not happened. Like we discussed a wide range of the stuff like you'd almost always want to ask people at Wizards, and it was really interesting. It was a really fun night. So big shout out to Gavin, one of the definitely somebody who I'd never met before, and I'm going to leave with a very like high opinion of. Another Zbex is another person I'd never spent time with before, and I got to talk to her about monetization on Instagram, TikTok, and just how those things worked. So big shout out to her, another really impressive person. And Death C, I didn't see Death C Sunday night, but he and I went out one more time on Monday night, spent most of the evening talking about content. And I also met Pleasant Kenobi near the very end of the night. And, these are just people I've never gotten to spend much time with. And it was really cool to get to talk to them and get to know them and talk about the business.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, high quality human beings from all walks of life, very diverse group of people. And yeah, my discovery is that people connected with Magic, and especially people dedicated to Magic, tend to be very impressive people. They tend to be very smart. They tend to be very driven by their curiosities. They tend to be people with multiple interests. They tend to be people with colorful histories and backgrounds. They tend to be very accomplished people. So yeah, like no shortage of very, very interesting and fun people to hang out with. Do you have any other anecdotes, just kind of from the weekend, things that I maybe wasn't around for?
Oh, you were around for it, but I thought it would be fun to bring up for the podcast. At the Yardbird, in that room with the cosplayers and their plus ones and Gavin, I was asked very directly. They were. It's always funny when two gals that you barely know like just kind of like look at each other and say, "We were talking about you before you got here, and we have a question." It's like,
I don't remember this.
Okay. I'm about to find out why I got invited to this dinner. The question is, do you have a normal life?
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, they were probably looking at your daily release schedule and thinking that you must be some kind of like maniac.
Right? Yeah. They wanted to know if there was any part of me that was something like a normal life. So, and if any of you out there, listeners or viewers, are asking yourself the same question, I've had a lot of speculation about what my life might be like. I don't know. I've never called it normal. I've definitely always had a very I've walked my own path for a vast majority of my life, and having a 9 to 5 has never been a part of my life. But I do have a pretty chill life, I would say, most of the time. When I'm not recording and doing stuff like this and making content and streaming, I'm usually hanging out with my wife, watching the various things that Netflix, HBO Max, and YouTube can throw together. And I usually get, for exercise, an hour to 2 hours a day to just walk my dogs in the woods near our house, which is pretty remote. Other things I do with my spare time is I coach the local roller derby team, which is kind of my social outlet and networking. And I play at my local game store since it opened up, Lantern Games in Traverse City. And I think I've got a pretty chill life. And I don't think that nearly as much of my time is absorbed by content creation as people might think. I have a team, several editors. There are editors that work for us, on this podcast to make sure that we pretty much show up, record, and enjoy it, and get back to whatever else we have to do. So I would say the life is pretty normal. I think that they were nervous that they were meeting some just soulless workaholic, but honestly, I worked a lot harder and for a lot less pay and for a lot less recognition back when I was a retail manager for FYE in the mall. So I wouldn't recommend that life to anybody.
Yeah, I get the impression that you probably spend like more than 40 hours a week just like thinking about playing, producing content for Magic, but which like probably like it's a fair amount of that time is kind of like up to you, right? Like maybe just stuff you want to be doing anyway. Maybe it doesn't fully qualify as work. Obviously, anytime you're playing Arena, I'm sure that's some kind of work for you. But Anyway, that's kind of the impression I get based on what little I know about your routine.
Yep. And if I'm going to take a vacation and go to something like Vegas, it's going to be a working vacation. It's fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun, man. It was so much fun. Okay. If there's another event and you heard about it, are you, one, definitely going, two, depends where it's at, or three, definitely staying home?
So that's actually a really good question. And I did want to address this before the show ends because I think there's probably a lot of people out there experiencing a fair amount of FOMO around this event. And overall, I would give it a B. There were some definite highlights. Getting to meet you in person and have fun with you was definitely one of them. And getting to meet, a bunch of other content creators, that was definitely a highlight. Getting to play Mystery Booster was definitely a highlight. But I mean, traveling to these events it's a pain in the ass. It's totally exhausting. Costs a lot of money. Oh my God. Like whether or not you gamble in Vegas, you're just hemorrhaging money the moment you show up. I don't know exactly how much I spent, but it's in the thousands of dollars all told. CGB probably spent significantly more than I did. Because
Yes.
he had various additional expenses that he was willing to incur.
Okay, that sounds really, that sounds like really innuendo filled, and it wasn't.
No, he just covered.
It wasn't
was just
anything
generous.
I wouldn't tell my mother about.
No, he just volunteered to cover various things because he's a BAMF basically. But yeah, I mean, it was expensive, it was tiring, there were boring aspects to it. Vegas, the whole of Vegas just smells like cigarette smoke, and I don't smoke, so that starts to get to you after a while. And I don't know, there's this kind of like, it's funny because people talk about what is it, like event funk or like the event crud or something, and it's just like this either like getting sick or just general feeling of like grossness that you get after the event, which I definitely experienced and watched other people experience as well.
I never get sick and I never feel gross, so this is an alien concept.
All right, well, for the rest of us mortals, that was what we went through. So okay, so if someone was like, let's just run back Vegas next month, right? Like let's pick a weekend in December and we're all going to do it again, I would not attend. No
Okay.
way. How about you?
I'd want to, but I agree. There should be space to recover financially and in a healthy way and in a mental way for sure. It is very taxing, and it is kind of, you could kind of feel it. A lot of people have been shut up indoors for a while and aren't quite used to getting out and putting themselves out there again. And it took a while to loosen up, and it's going to take a while to hunker back down. So yeah, gotta space them out. Gotta try to make it special and do it at the right time.
Yeah, the last event like that I went to was Magic Fest Portland, GP Portland. That was in probably like October or November of 2019. I recorded a podcast there, and it was early in my career of content creation, and I had an absolute blast at that event. I think part of it was that it was 2 hours drive from my town, and also, I just went with like a small group of friends, and I didn't spend the entire weekend like drinking, smoking, straight West Coasting. It was just more kind of like, playing some events, hanging out with friends, maybe catching a dinner, going to bed at a reasonable time. And that was a blast. So, I think like next time I go to one of these events, I'm going to have to balance the desire to stay out late and have fun with the desire to feel like not a zombie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody who wonders why we didn't record a podcast at the event like you did at GP Portland, we tried. I lost my voice, and we just didn't. It wasn't a good idea.
It's on both of us, to be honest. I feel like we were both kind of looking for / waiting for the right window, and it just didn't come. We also we set aside Monday to try to do it, and I woke up at like 8:30 that morning to work because I work remotely, and so I actually did my work day from my hotel room. So up at 8:30 to see a text from CGB at 6:30 saying, I'm tired. We're not going to do breakfast today. Which means that CGB had probably been asleep for about 2 hours by the time I woke up. So yeah, we decided to cut him some slack and not record on Monday either. So
So that's yeah, that's okay. We're recording now, and
yeah,
tomorrow is Thanksgiving here in
yeah.
America. So I wanted to ask you if there's anything you felt like saying that you're thankful for on this podcast.
Oh boy. Well, I tend to be a little irreverent as it concerns Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff, genocidal history and all that kind of stuff. And I'm English as
Cool. Yeah.
well.
I was hoping this would be a nice, smooth, easy, fun question. Let's go. Keep it coming. Let's do this.
So there is that. But yeah, sure. I'll drop some gratitude here because you asked. So yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for you, buddy. I'm really glad that you're on this show, and it's been an absolute blast making the podcast with you, and spending the weekend with you at Vegas really I mean, I knew that you were cool, but it's just nice to hang out with someone in real life and be like, oh yeah, that person really is cool, and I enjoy their company. So yeah, I'm grateful that we got to spend some time together IRL. I'm grateful that you continue to want to show up for this podcast. There's plenty of other things that you could be doing with your time. You're someone who's very effectively learned how to monetize your time. And, the fact that you devote time to this podcast every week, in spite of that, is some indication to me that, you enjoy this. And so I feel very, very grateful for that.
Oh, no, that's really nice. Yeah, I do love
Yeah.
being here. I'm grateful to be on a podcast. Basically, will take what you said and like echo it back to you. Also grateful for all the fans. It was.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I'm still. I don't know if I'll ever be used to being recognized, let alone having people like excited to see me, having people FaceTime their significant others so that they can hold up the phone and put in my and be like, look who this is. And then they just start screaming into the phone. Like that kind of stuff is really, I don't know if I'll ever get used to it, but I feel it. I really, when you guys have that enthusiasm out there and you come up to me and you bring me that enthusiasm, you're just excited to meet me. Like I feel that long after our short interaction is done, and it keeps me going. So I'm thankful to everyone who goes out of their way to leave nice comments, to meet me at the convention, to get the shark token from Cool Stuff Inc. Whatever it is, I'm grateful for the fans.
Yeah, I want to say that too. Is the other thing I was going to say is I'm grateful for the Craft Nation. You people, I mean, you're honestly like why I feel motivated to keep doing this. I work a day job. This is not my money maker. This is something that I look forward to. This is something that I devote my free time to because I actually enjoy it. And one of the main reasons I enjoy it is all of you who watch, who listen, who ask questions, who give feedback, even just like commenting on a tweet, finding something funny, whatever it is. I notice all that stuff and it really drives me and it really motivates me to want to keep making the content. So keep being cool. I mean, you all are wonderful. This is a really, really nice community of people. I mean, I couldn't ask for any better. I feel super blessed. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I just stumbled into a room full of like wonderful people who somehow seem to enjoy what I do. So yep, definitely carrying that gratitude with me.
That's
sure.
a really nice note. We could end it there, but I just want to give I want to give one more question. I want to give people a little send off since they're going to probably go play some Arena after they finish this because they're going to be so hyped to do so. And we haven't talked much about Arena. What are you going to play next? What are you going to play next in the Arena? What are you going to do this week?
Dude, it's sad to say, but I'm probably not going to play Arena this week. You know what, man?
But the dailies, how are you going to get your dailies? The value, Arjuna. The
I'm
value,
gonna
Arjuna.
I'm gonna be honest with you, crafties. First of all, I have a reinvigoration for paper magic, so I'm definitely thinking
Ah,
more about that.
okay.
But second of all, standard sucks. I
It's brutal.
I streamed last night, and I was just trying to get a lay of the land, just trying to play the format, and it's one of those formats where, like, I hate for it to be this way, but it's one of those formats where you figure it out like a couple of days into the format and you know how it's going to be, and you're kind of hoping that something's going to come up, but in the back of your head you kind of know that nothing's going to come up. And I spent a week not playing Arena, and I came back in and it was exactly where I left it. All the stuff that was good when I left was still good when I came back. All the stuff that I was hoping would be good but wasn't good enough when I left still wasn't good enough when I came back. And yeah, I'm kind of my enthusiasm is definitely low.
Okay.
Definitely low.
All
How
right.
about yourself?
Challenge accepted. I'm going to come back next week and you're going to be so excited for all the different decks I'm going to build that are going to play Hullbreaker Horror in new and
Oh
exciting
god.
ways.
Oh god.
I am mono spamming Hullbreaker Horror.
Oh god.
I hope
Make
that
the nightmare
the
end.
fans are gonna love it as long as they love blue decks, because I don't know how to play anything else. It feels like mono green and mono white are the only other choices, with mono white way better than mono green at this point. And so yeah, I can build like a million different blue decks to try to compete with those things, but I don't know how to build like a Naya deck right now. Why would anybody, like, what does a Jun deck look like right now? And people can come up with like, oh, here, this, and I'm really like, I played that 100 times, it's just nah.
Yeah.
So I feel what
Yeah.
you're saying. So I'm gonna take the things I hate most about this format, and I'm just gonna invade other formats. I'm working on my 100 card historic brawl Lear
Oh
deck,
no.
and
Oh
and
no.
I'm gonna go smash that sucker. But that's what they can look forward to from me for the next
Oh
week.
man. You know what you're like, CGB? You're like a Marvel supervillain, and you're like, well, I got tired of trashing this universe, this plane. I'm gonna planeswalk over into some other plane and ruin their lives as well. See you later, Avengers.
Dude, when the format is salt, you gotta be a salt lord. You
There you
just
go.
healthy diet of salt water, baby. Let's go.
Well, I'll just take myself down to the local salt lick and play some paper instead. So that's going to do it for this week's Arena Craft podcast. Thanks so much for hanging out and catching another edition. I hope this Vegas edition lived up to your expectations. And you can find this podcast pretty much everywhere. We're on Spotify. We're on all of the downloadable places. You can also watch the video version on CovertGoBlue's YouTube channel, in addition to CovertGoBlue's amazing content, which you should be watching anyway. CovertGoBlue also streams regularly on Twitch. I probably won't be streaming for a little while up here, but I might actually be playing some virtual Commander with the one James coming up. So I'll post about that on Twitter if that's going to be a thing.
Excellent.
Yeah. So wishing you, CovertGoBlue, and the Crafties a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday if you live in the US, and if not, just stay funky fresh out there in the world.
Thank you very much to the patrons. And I guess with that, I'm going to do it. Here it comes. You ready? Later, crafties.